First of all, I'd like to say that 1986 was a very enjoyable year for me. I enjoyed working with all of the players, and I think the seniors did an outstanding job for us in terms of providing leadership on the field and off the field. 1986 was a year we ended up 6-4, and we started out with a new offensive philosophy, that being a more wide open passing attack, and I think it took us 3 or 4 games to become comfortable with this, both myself and the players. And as the season progressed, our offense produced more yardage, and I think you'll see some real exciting plays in this highlight film. For you guys on the team, when you're looking at this film 15, 20 years later, remember that you won the sportsmanship trophy, the Jerry Lindell sportsmanship trophy, and I think that's a tribute to you, and it's something you should be proud of in the future. We started out our 1986 season traveling to Milan. Milan had an outstanding team. They were winners of the Pheasant 5 conference, a small school conference. They were co-champions with Herman. We ended up winning that game 32-26, a very exciting finish. Kind of a seesaw affair with us getting an early lead, 8-0 on a good drive. Milan coming back, their quarterback scrambled and got a receiver free and came within 8-7. Tom Quackenbush tackled the Milan quarterback in the end zone for a safety to give us a 10-7 lead, and then Milan scored in the second quarter to take a 14-10 lead at halftime. A long run by Jeff Royland in the third quarter got us deep into Milan territory, and we scored to go ahead 18-14, and an excellent catch by Mark Johnson on a pass from Bruce Johnson gave us a 2-point conversion to make it 20-14. Following a pass interception, we came back and scored again very quickly and took a 26-14 lead. Milan scored a couple of times to tie it up 26-26, with Brad Gibson blocking a couple of extra points to keep us tied. The winning touchdown came on a 65-yard pass from Bruce Johnson to Jim Vogt with about 2.5 minutes left, and this was the first of Jim's 7 touchdowns that gave him a school record of touchdown passes for a tight end. The next week we traveled to Starbuck, who has a very fine, or rather Cyrus Hancock, who had a fine team, and lost 13-6. Excellent game. Turnovers were a big factor here, as Cyrus Hancock intercepted a pass for a touchdown, and their other touchdown was set up by a fumble that was recovered by them deep in our territory. But we played an outstanding game. Kenny Hagan re-broke his arm in this game and began a succession of injuries that were to nag us as the year went along. The next week we went to Starbuck, and we were minus Mark Johnson in this game because of an appendectomy that would take him out of football for the rest of the season. Starbuck defeated us 34-13 in a game that was much closer than the score would indicate. We actually had the first good scoring opportunity and had the ball on Starbuck's half-yard line, fumbled the ball into the end zone, and they recovered to prevent us from scoring. Starbuck scored 1 touchdown in the first half and led 6-0 at halftime. The third quarter was disaster for us, as we turned the ball over 5 times in Starbuck's territory, and they took a 27-0 lead into the fourth quarter. We came back and scored 2 touchdowns on passes from Bruce Johnson to John Colleen, but just was a little too late, and we were defeated 34-13. This game was the game in which Todd Brewer kicked the first of a successive series of extra points that were successful, and Todd became a big factor for us. Finally, we got back home on the 4th game of the season against Campbell Tinta in our homecoming game. Campbell Tinta was coming off a big win against Milan the week before, and we were very concerned about this game. However, we played well, and we defeated Campbell Tinta 44-20. This game did turn out to be give us another injury that was a setback for us, and that was with Mark Neish's dislocating his shoulder and putting him out for a major portion of the rest of the season. However, our offense did show its the first signs of us really becoming comfortable with it. And Tom Zimmerman had an outstanding game as he caught 7 passes for over 100 yards. And Bruce Johnson threw the ball well, and Jim Vogt caught 3 touchdown passes. So this was an exciting offensive game for us. The next week we went to Hofland, Kensington, played on a sloppy field, defeated them 35-9. We jumped off to a 14-0 lead and had some problems with our punting game that gave them a safety and a touchdown that got them close in the second quarter by a score of 14-9. However, following their their touchdown, Brian Gibson ran the kickoff back about 70 yards for a touchdown. And we intercepted a pass late in the half, and Brian took over for Bruce, who was injured on one of the bad punting situations we had, and threw a touchdown pass to Jim Vogt. So we had about a 27-9 lead at halftime in that game, and put us pretty comfortable into the lead. We ended up winning 35-9. Next week we had a very big game with Clinton Graceville in Chicago. Clinton Graceville had a big, strong team. We got off to a blazing start. On the first offensive play, John Feline ran a counter play, 65 yards for a touchdown. So with 11 seconds left, we had gone in the first half. We had a 7-0 lead. We stopped Clinton Graceville, got the ball back, and on the first play from scrimmage after that, Bruce hit Tom Zimmerman on a long pass. Tom made a fantastic catch at about midfield. We went in for another score, and about 3 minutes into the game we were ahead 14-0, and we went on to win that one 38-13. The next week we played Beardsley Browns Valley in Chicago, and Beardsley Valley had just crushed Starbuck the week before by 54-18 or something like that, and we were injured again. Bruce Johnson's ankle was injured against Clinton Graceville. He was unable to play, but Brian Gibson filled in at quarterback and did a fantastic job. We got off to a terrible start in this game. It was 18-0, but we came back. Tom Zimmerman made a fine catch to set up our first touchdown, and with just a few seconds left in the half, Tom Zimmerman intercepted a Browns Valley screen, Tom Quackenbush rather, intercepted a Browns Valley screen pass and set up a touchdown pass from Brian Gibson to Chris Bankin just before the half, and we were within 18-14. Browns Valley scored in the third quarter to go ahead 26-14. And we actually dominated the rest of the second half. We got inside Browns Valley's 5-yard line, I think it was, 3 times, and on the last time they intercepted a pass in the end zone and ran it the length of the field for a touchdown. We felt good about this game. I think Chris Bankin and Brian Gibson started to show some real offensive poise and confidence, and you could see our offense was beginning to click. Next week we played Herman. And in Chicago, we defeated Herman 25-16. Not one of our best games of the season. I think we were a little flat after the Beardsley Valley game, and we didn't play with a lot of intensity, but in fact we were behind 19-16 going into the fourth quarter. Ended up winning on 2 big plays, a Brian Gibson to Chris Bankin pass, long pass, and then Chris, with about 5 minutes left, broke about a 65-yard run on a pop up the middle that sealed the win for us. That put us in the playoffs, and the first round of the playoffs we traveled to Milan to play Milan. Again, very concerned about their potentially explosive team. First quarter was scoreless. We had a fumble on about Milan's 1-yard line that they recovered, and we had a series of penalties in the first quarter that frustrated us. But the second quarter we exploded for 5 touchdowns, took a 32-7 lead, at halftime and went on to win 52-26. So very exciting game for us. Chris Benkin had 4 touchdowns, and everybody played well. Our defense played solid. It was just an outstanding game. We really dominated a good Milan football team. So we felt good going into our rematch with Starbuck. And the first half we played just fantastic football. We were ahead 20-6, and besides the touchdowns that we scored, we fumbled the ball and lost it on our 2-yard line. Had a couple of passes dropped that could have been touchdowns, and had one intercepted in the end zone. Could have easily had 2 or 3 more touchdowns at halftime. However, a couple of key injuries in the first half kind of set the tone for a disastrous second half. Mark Nicias re-dislocated his shoulder and in the second quarter and left the game. And unbeknownst to the coaching staff, Kenny Hagan re-broke his arm in the second quarter. Didn't tell us about it. Played the whole second half with a broken arm and was sick as well. So we kind of wore down the second half. Starbuck made some big plays, and we ended up losing 42-20 to finish the season on somewhat of a down note. But the first half is what I like to remember, because I think it was one of the finest first halves that any team I've ever played has had in a playoff situation. So we played one super first half of football, and I'm very proud of the way the kids played. I'm sure you're going to enjoy this season, and again I want to say that, these highlights, and I want to say that I enjoyed the season, I enjoyed working with everybody, and good luck to you all.